Hello everybody, my name is Peter Saenz and I am presenting this webinar on behalf of Safe States. The name of the webinar is Leveraging AI to Streamline Your Work Processes, AI Solutions for Injury and Violence Prevention Professionals. I'm a doctoral student specializing in AI adoption at Stony Brook University. So what is this presentation about? It's about understanding AI, generative AI at a high level. It's about exploring off-the-shelf tools. It's about learning use cases for integrating AI into your daily operations and discovering how to use it more effectively. What this presentation is not about is not a step-by-step instructional guide to using AI. I'm not going to go over the ChatGPT interface or Claude or anything like that. It's also not a detailed implementation plan, so we're going to talk about high-level different use cases, and I think these use cases could be very interesting and useful for you, and the way I go about using AI for these use cases I think it might be pretty insightful. But if you have very specific questions or you need that tutorial specific for your organization or detailed implementation plans, please contact me. There's going to be a link at the end, and you can submit questions and inquiries about things that you want to be answered in the networking session that's going to be coming after this presentation. And if you send those early, then I'll have time to read them. I can put together thoughtful answers and then present those during that networking meeting. And if it's something really in-depth, or you can still come to the networking meeting, and I will answer them to my best of my ability. But if we need more information, I might have to do more one-on-one stuff, which is kind of in line with my doctoral research. So about me. I am a big operations, big process improvement person with extensive project management experience. My current research at Stony Brook University revolves around helping organizations adopt AI to improve their operations. And I'm also working on exploring how personas work for generative AI, and if they're representative of people in real life, and which could be useful for some people in this webinar. I'm also working with Stony Brook Medicine Hospital with validating LLM ambient technology to see if it's good and meets quality requirements to develop medical notes, but that's not using patient data. And let's see what else. Another thing you should know is that I worked with Stony Brook Medicine's fall prevention program, and I helped automate a lot of their processes that took a lot of time because they had all these Excel sheets and it was operations stuff to run their program. It was also automating data that could be used for reporting for their grant, and that was definitely a big hit because I think it was 2 years. 2 years ago. I presented at Safe States annual conference about it, and so that's the kind of work I do. Something else you should know about me is that I used to be a project manager at a tax law firm, and we specialize in R&D tax credits. And why this is pertinent is because while doing that, I've interviewed many companies and organizations, CEOs, technicians in different industries and sectors, and I've learned about how their operations work, how they go about adopting technologies and improving their processes, and it's kind of the same methodology I'm going to use when thinking about how to apply AI to new use cases. My education, as I said, I'm a doctoral student at Stony Brook University. My master's is in biomedical engineering, and my bachelor's is in business management. So what is generative AI? Generative AI refers to algorithms like large language models that create new content, such as text, images, or code based on the data they're trained on. So it's in the name, generative. It generates. And you should, when you're working, you generate things. You generate emails. You generate reports. You generate all kinds of things. So when you're going throughout your workday, think about, what am I doing? What am I generating? And could generative AI potentially do that for me? And I would recommend doing that for the stuff that you don't want to do, the boring stuff. And the stuff that you do want to do, you have more time to do it. And examples, ChatGPT for text generation, DALL-E for image creation, Codex for coding assistance. So the LLM space is really big, large language models. And so I'm going to say ChatGPT throughout this presentation, but there's different versions of ChatGPT, and there's different large language models. So whenever I say that, if you're using Claude, using Mistrals, or using Llama 3, just pretend I'm saying that name instead of ChatGPT, because it's all relevant. So AI is already part of your life. I think the reason this is important to know is because a lot of people might be apprehensive. Oh, should I be using AI and whatnot? Like, is it right for me? You're already using AI. It's just working in the background, the technologies you already use. If you use text messages and there's autocomplete, or if you use Word autocomplete, if you use Grammarly, if you use PowerPoint, when they have like the design options for the slides or Canva, you're using AI. You're using AI in so many different ways. So if you're using chatbots, right? So let's say you have off-the-shelf tools that work in the background, right? Stuff working in the background. Then you have off-the-shelf tools that are specific applications. Then you got chatbots, which you can integrate in many, many different ways. But then you have like APIs, right? Over here, that's more advanced ways to use the chatbots. And then over here, you actually have creating like your models and stuff like that. A lot of you guys are probably not doing that. But this presentation is more about the generative AI. If you want to talk about those other things down the spectrum, we can talk about those another time. So violence and injury prevention. So there's a lot of key applications here, and this is from my experience working with organizations, and these seem to be some good ways to automate with or without AI, but AI adds a little zhuzh to it, if you will. So you could combine data from program reports. You can track follow-ups to ensure service delivery, draft manage stakeholder emails, summarize metrics for funders or stakeholders, automate tasks like attendance tracking. You could literally use it for almost anything. So the only limit is your imagination. It's a generative AI is a tool, and with this tool, it can be used. I can't go over all the different ways. That's why if you do those inquiries and questions at the end of this presentation, if you tell me what you're doing, I can then be like, oh, you could use AI for this, and this is a particular tool that would be perfect for you, right? But at a high level, automate repetitive tasks, brainstorming ideas, simplifying complex processes. So, okay, this is an example. You're in a Zoom meeting, right? And let's just say you had to take attendance. Well, you can or you just want to get a bunch of names because you want to contact these people later. What you can do is take a screenshot and throw it into a large language model or a local one if you want to make sure that it's, private. We'll talk about that another time. If you're concerned about privacy, there's ways to do this privately. And you'll get this list. And it's not that difficult to do. It takes some time. But if I have 5 pages of this, that's going to take a lot of time. And maybe I don't want to do that. So now we have, if you guys heard of, I know you, so here, throw ChatGPT over here in a second. So this is ChatGPT, in case you guys haven't seen it. You type your stuff in here. How do how do birds fly, right? And it's going to produce an output, right? So this is this is completely like in its brain, if you will. It's neural net. It's producing all this information. Very useful. I'm going to stop that, right? But it can hallucinate because this is coming from with the data it's trained on. One tool I want to share with you, though, is Google Notebook LLM. So let me throw this in here. So this is Google Notebook LLM. Let's try it. So the difference between this and that is that this is free. ChatGPT is also free, but there's a paid version. So here, what we're going to do is I'm going to throw this paper from my Zotero in here. So now this is going to be a chatbot, but it's only going to be chatting with me based on the information right here. Why is this useful? This is useful because it's not going to hallucinate, or it's going to be very limited in its hallucination because it's only going to know, this is its brain basically, its data set. So what are the methods in this paper and how can they be applied to my research about AI adoption for MSMEs, which is micro, small, medium enterprises. Let's see what it does. And to be clear, ChatGPT does do something similar. They're starting to do this footnote thing. So this is the cool part. Okay, so I got this information. I read this paper, which is long, by the way. Roll this over here. This is the paper. Very dense. Keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. Right? You could read this and it would take a lot of time. I read this paper. It took a lot of time. Right? Okay, so look. The research paper uses a qualitative, inductive, exploratory analysis, right? Get exactly what you want. But this is the cool part. It will take you exactly, this is a citation basically over here of where that information comes from. This is very useful. So if you're processing, you have to read a lot of documents or learn stuff quickly, you put this in here and it makes it so much quicker. You can add multiple PDFs. So let's just say you were doing literature review. You could add like, I think up to 50 PDFs in the sources over here. And you can even create like a podcast. So let's say I had to learn about this paper. There's an option somewhere around here. And you can learn this on your own. But you can literally, let's see, audio overview. It can literally talk to you, which is pretty cool. And you can make it do a podcast where it pretends it's two people and they're talking about the topics in this. So it's an entertaining way to learn. So this is just one cool way to do it. But let's see what happens with ChatGPT quickly. Let me do the same thing. Okay. Boom. Okay, throw this in here. About the methods and how they can be used in my research for AI adoption for MSMEs. Let's see what happens. Let's go do some reading. So here, it has the output, but it doesn't give you those nice little citations. And you can ask it, but it's not as, you have to kind of work at it to get the information you want. That's why I like the Notebook LLM, which is free. Google Notebook LLM, right? So over here. Okay, let's go back to that PowerPoint. Boom. Okay. So there's an AI tool for that. Reason I have this, you can look up AI tools. There are so many. If you want me to help you find the tools, just you have to send in inquiries and questions, and we can work with you. But as you can see, there's a lot of different options, and this is not even touching the surface. But before we do the project management, I'm going to show you a couple other cool tools. So that project manager, so that little flowchart. So I had to make flowcharts, right? So this is also a free tool, Miro, and I highly recommend you making flowcharts to describe your thoughts. These are like kind of rinky-dink flowcharts. I just did them because it's good to have a graphic on the PowerPoint. But if you're doing complex processes at your organization, then having flowcharts explaining your thought process is going to make the communication process much more quickly. It's like, we do this, then we do this, then we do this. What do you guys think about that? Is it accurate? How do we check for quality? And then you would have another box here, check for quality. Did it meet quality, right? So I highly recommend using flowcharts to brainstorm, especially for AI, because if you're integrating into your processes, show your process either sideways or vertically, right? And then think about, what would the AI instructions have to be to do it? How would I check the quality? So this is another example of AI right here. Create a flowchart that shows how I can use AI to improve project management in meetings. Okay. Let's see what happens. Boom. Okay. Cool. It's something, right? Identify project needs, select an AI tools, ask for task. It's not perfect, right? Implement an AI task, focus on tasks, AI meeting. So this is a very not like detailed prompt. If I wanted to make it much more detailed, I could have wrote, oh, I need this, then this, and this, and then it would have made a nice prompt. But this is just an example, right? Another one for you researchers out there is Research Rabbit, which is also free. So add a paper. So I'm going to do that one from before. Let's see. Copy. So if you're doing literature review, or if you're a researcher for these violence and injury prevention programs, or you have to write grants, you need to get information to bolster your support, right? I'll do this one. Okay, add to collection. Okay. Okay. All right, so I have 2 papers in this collection. Interesting. It gives me an abstract. That's cool. Similar work. So it's now recommending me similar work. And then I see how it's related to it, right? I can go to the references. So these are all the references in this document. There's 70 of them, right? And you see how they're related and how they connect to each other, which is pretty cool. You can look at the authors, right? Oh, that's an author. So let's see, what else? 22 citations. What are those citations about, right? But let's close this up. Go here. Similar work, all references. Let's do similar work. Then I click on this guy, right? Oh, similar work to that. All references for that, right? So it lets you really navigate quickly. And timeline, that's also really cool. Shows you the papers that are referenced, but when they are. So that's going to help you go through them. Last author. So these are all different tools. It's going to take time to learn how they work, but there's a lot of different tools out there. And these are just a couple ones that I mentioned because I think they're pretty cool. They're free. But now let's go back to the presentation. All right, start from this slide. So project management, AI for project management. You could do it for meeting agendas, generate meeting agendas, follow-up emails, meeting summaries, project plans, status updates, requests for information. And basically, a lot of times when you're writing a project, there's certain things that should always be done. You should always have a meeting agenda. You should always take notes during the meeting. You should always have follow-up emails about action items for that meeting. And the reason we don't do those things is because we're overwhelmed and we don't have time to do them. And we know we need to do them. And we know things come out better when we do them. But it takes time. So AI can just do that for you. You have to use the right prompts, use YouTube to figure out how to write the prompts, or you can just think in your head, you can just write it, you know? But we have initiate meeting, use AI to assist with scheduling. So let's just say there are scheduling software and tools. Let's say you just sent out like a raw email. And then people sent back to you, and they're saying all these different times, and you don't know it. Like, it's hard, right? You can just copy all those emails, take any private information, and ask it, with all this information of when people are able, when's the best time to have the meeting? Then you can use it to draft a meeting agenda in ChatGPT. You can use AI to capture meeting notes, either through Otter or Zoom itself has meeting notes. And then you can make customized emails for action items that for individuals in the organization. So let's moving on to generative AI for epidemiologists. I am not worked with epidemiologists, but I've looked into it a little bit. Report drafting, policy briefs, training materials, translation, public messaging. So you throw in your data into a large language model, and it creates reports. So you have to validate these reports, but if you did all the data analysis, you could use ChatGPT for data analysis, but let's just say you didn't. You just do your data analysis, now you want to have nice figures. Well, you can just throw it in there, and it's going to produce reports. Just make sure you double check that it's accurate. And if you have sensitive data, then you might not want to do that. You might want to use a local LLM, and we could talk about that. That's out of the scope of this presentation, but if there's privacy issues, there's ways to address those privacy issues. So now we're going to a bigger part of the presentation, which is Excel. I think almost everybody uses Excel in some capacity, and there's a lot of different tools in Excel, and they can help you be so much more efficient, save you many hours or days of work. But a lot of people don't save hours and days of work because they don't know how to use Excel, and it's because they were never taught, or they don't have time, right? Well, with ChatGPT, you can learn how to use Excel more effectively. So I know what VLOOKUPs are. I know all these different functions, but this is something I see many people do quite often manually. Let's say we have 3 data sets. This is in the same workbook, but this could also be in separate workbooks in different disparate areas. The formula just gets more complicated to do this. You have name and ID number, right? Now you have name and town, name and attendance. These are in different sheets. Well, what we want is maybe in sheet 1, we have to have all this information for town and all the attendance for these people, right? You could do that manually for sure. Control F, grab Peter, Control F. Let's say these names are a little more complicated. You definitely want to do Control F because if you don't spell it properly, you're not going to find it. You go here. Oh, Peter's Babylon. Copy, paste it into here. You can do this over and over again. And this won't take that long. This is what, 9 people here? But if you had 100 or 1,000, like this would be very annoying. And let's just say another example. I have names here. Let's just say it's not ID number, this is not town attendance. This is attendance for March 1st, attendance for March 15th, attendance for May 10th. Let's say you have attendance for all these people, and you need to add it up for your program. Give me 1 second. right? That could be a nightmare, especially if there's different requirements, and that can take a lot of time. And this is basically what I automated for the Stony Brook Medicine's fault prevention program. Well, you can use something called a VLOOKUP to do this, but say you didn't know how to do a VLOOKUP. You use ChatGPT. Basically, I'm just kind of telling ChatGPT what's going on here. I have an Excel workbook with 3 sheets, 1, 2, 3, as we saw. Name and ID, number, name and town, name and attendance. Name and ID, name and town, name and attendance. Basically, just explain what it is. This is what I want. I need to create an Excel formula that consolidates all the data into sheet 1. Specifically, I want column C into sheet 1, and I want column D, attendance. Right? So basically, I'm saying I want this over here to go into this column. I want this over here to go into this column. And importantly, I'm saying I want the formula to start at row 2. The reason I want row 2 because it needs to start here. If it starts here, that's where the header is going to go, right? And then it's going to be inaccurate. So the reason I'm asking I want a formula is because let's say this was sensitive data. Well, we could just throw all this into ChatGPT. I guarantee you it would probably almost 100% get this all right and pull the data you want instantaneously. You wouldn't have to go through this. But if you're doing sensitive data, this is the workflow. You ask for a formula, then you put the formula in here, right? So basically that was the prompt. This was the output. You're going to take this, copy it in to here, right? This is the formula. And then you're going to drag down. And then boom, instantaneously you're going to get what we want. Same thing for this one. The only difference is going to be sheet 3, right? But now I'm going to show you that in real time. It's going to take 2 seconds. All right. So this is our sheet. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Town and attendance. We don't have those. So let's go to ChatGPT. Okay. Make a new one. Oh, by the way, when you're dealing with large language models, screenshots are your best friend. Because you don't want to type that. So I'm going to throw that in here. Boom. Enter. Let's see what we got. Ooh, a nice little formula. I'm going to copy here. You could also use that. So I'm going to bring this over here. I'm going to paste this here. Look at that. And I drag it down. Instantaneously, I get everything I want. Yeah, this would honestly probably still quicker than doing it manually. But if this was long, this is a godsend, right? So let's see here. Boom. Throw it in here. Got my attendance. Obviously, you want to do your validation. John's 22. John's 22. So you got what we need. And this is just a simple use case, but it can be so much more complex. And that's why writing these formulas, you can easily make mistakes. And if you want to do something more complex, you can run into issues and headaches, and it's a nightmare. But they still save time. Even if you I would spend a lot of time learning how to use the VLOOKUPs, even if it's a nightmare at first, because over time, it's going to make your life so much easier. Okay, this is just showing that. And you gotta think about, okay, so we had that paragraph before. This is kind of clunky, right? I was running out real quick. But if you're doing more complex things, you want to write it more neatly, because the more logical and stepwise you make it for ChatGPT, the more likely it's going to answer it correctly. So this is me just asking, based on, I wrote, what would have been a better way to have written that prompt to get the information I wanted? And this is what it wrote. It wrote it in this, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, and it just kind of itemized it very neatly. This is easier to read than the paragraph, for sure, even for a human being. So in the future, if you're doing something more complex, you might want to structure it like this. So this is using ChatGPT to become a better prompter. So quality control. So this is VLOOKUP. You never heard of VLOOKUP. Maybe you know XLOOKUP. Maybe you know any of these functions. Okay. Well, if you're being a responsible person, what are some things I should consider when using VLOOKUP formulas? How can I ensure that I don't overlook anything, avoid errors, and assess quality? And then ChatGPT will tell you what to look for. You could also just look up in YouTube how to do it as well, right? And then you'll understand generally how VLOOKUPs work, what do you look for, some edge cases, right? And then you have that, and then when you start using ChatGPT to develop those formulas, you will have the knowledge background to be like, okay, this makes sense. Sorry about that. Okay, creating a cognitive map. So, okay, we know that Excel is useful, and think of all the tools you use every day, right? You're probably not using this to the full ability because you didn't read the manual on how to use the tool. You didn't watch the whole tutorial, right? Because these tools are so complex and so powerful, like Excel and Word and Access. But you have to really spend time to learn how to use them. It could take years if you're just doing it like tacitly throughout the workday. But this is my prompt. I work at a violence and injury prevention organization, and I use Excel for data processing, but I currently use it in the most basic way possible. Please share some advanced Excel functions and features that could probably help me be much more productive. Please create a short bullet list that briefly lists the features and functions. And this is what we get. We get pivot tables. I highly recommend, if you don't know what a pivot table is, you learn this right away, and you learn up these right away. These will help you be so much more productive. And then all these, I would also look at these. This is a little more advanced, a little more advanced. But these are all useful things. So key takeaways. Ask, can generative AI help me with blank? You do anything throughout your day? You gotta ask yourself, can it help me? Explore, collaborate with colleagues, and brainstorm ideas and approaches. So you might be using it for something. Share that with other people in your office, or if they're learning things, they should share it with you. When I used to work at the tax law firm, we had a AI of the day. Basically, at the end of the week, we would explain how we used AI more effectively, and then we'd have a little PowerPoint presentation showing how it worked, and we learned a lot from each other that way. Engage. Ask generative AI for solutions. So you can just ask it. I do these things. I do X, Y, and Z. This is my whole day. How can I use you to help me make my life easier? Verify. Always develop. You have to think like a quality control person. Okay, I did this. How do I know I did it correctly, right? In your normal day life of manually doing things. And those answers and questions are very important when you use AI, because those are the things you're going to need to do to make sure that the AI is correct. And if you list things out step by step and how you validate them step by step, you can create very complex prompts where you can do very advanced things. But you have to think more of systems and industrial engineering. What are my processes? How do I validate them? And I can help you do that if in the future if we set something up. But that's out of the scope of this presentation. But let's connect. So I can help with focused guidance, process improvements, automation support. It's all stuff part of my doctorate. But reach out with questions, inquiries, and I will address them during the networking session. So this QR code up here, this is to a Google survey I made. And basically, you can put your questions in there. If you're filling it out, just keep your questions in a Word document or something like that, because Save States is also going to send you a survey. I just have this just in case something happens and theirs doesn't work, or I think theirs is supposed to ask like what you learned and what you thought about the presentation. So and a bunch of other things, but I just want to make sure that I get the information in real time. And if you send them through, then I'll have time to look up how to help you. But if let's just say, get a bunch of the questions last minute, like the day before the presentation or a couple days, I'm not going to have enough time. So definitely 100% you need to fill out the QR code or the link from SafeStage, which is going to come after this video. I think they're going to add it on and sign up. You'll go to the network session, put your questions in there, or wherever they ask you. I don't know exactly what's going to be in there, but also if you could do this one as well, just as a backup, that would be great too. Thank you for listening to the presentation, and I really hope you got something out of it. And at the network session, I definitely will do my best to provide more detailed information based on whatever information you guys sent me in the surveys.